Okay, it's uploading right now. We're live.
Okay, great. So today is January 14, 2021. Hard for me to say that. And this is the Rural Planning Organization meeting for the Wasatch County area. And we try to do these quarterly or more frequent. And today we have a couple items on the agenda. It's included in the appointment. You can see that I've got UDOT corridor agreement adjustment. Doug Bassett is on the agenda. And then the Wasatch Back 2050 map updates that I will talk to. And then also Jeremy Bone from UDOT Region 3 with an update. So let's see here. As far as introductions, do you guys want to try to do introductions, or do you want to try to figure out who each other is on this, or do we just do a quick roll call? I can kind of introduce organizations. Maybe that's the best way to do it. Do organizations and see if there's multiple people participating per organization. I'll do that. From MAG, we have Shauna Meekum, Sarah Lawless. We have Andrew Jackson participating today. And Michael, why don't you introduce yourself from Midway? Try that one more time, Michael. I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, Michael, I'm the Midway City Planner, and I'm the only one from Midway attending the meeting.
Thanks, Michael. And I'm just going to go across on my screen so I can keep track, so it won't be in any type of order. So don't let your brain try to think I've got some plan here. Craig Hancock, do you want to introduce yourself and then pass it to any other UDOT staff that you see on the call?
You bet. Hi, I'm Craig Hancock. I'm the project manager for Region 3. Just been recently assigned to the Wasatch County, taking Jeremy's spot. Just coming off of the I-15 Technology Corridor project for the last several years, and excited to be here. Next person on my screen from UDOT is Eric, so I'll pass the baton over to Eric.
Eric Rasban, Region Planning Manager. I've participated in this discussion a couple of times, or several times. I don't see Jeremy or Doug on the screen right now, so I've just reached out to them and to see if they're going to be able to join, unless they're here, and maybe they can jump in.
Great, thanks, Eric. We'll watch for Doug and Jeremy if they show up on the screen here. Next, I have Wasatch County. Doug, do you want to introduce yourself, and then Austin maybe as well?
Doug Smith, Wasatch County Planning Director. Go ahead, Austin.
Okay, yeah, I'm with the planning department as well. It looks like we've got Mike Davis on from the county too, and Brandon Clough.
Great. Mike, do you want to introduce yourself real quickly, and then Brandon? Or I can do that for us. Mike is the county administrator, county manager. Brandon, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Brandon Clough, Wasatch County Public Works.
Thank you. And then I also have Don Taylor. Oftentimes I forget Don is a MAG employee and not a Wasatch employee. So I've got Don Taylor on my screen as well. And Don focuses on trail connections and trail projects in Wasatch County. Heber City, Matt, do you want to introduce yourself? And then looks like I can see Bart and anyone else that you can see on your team.
Absolutely. Matt Brower, Heber City Manager. Before I turn some time over to Bart, Craig, looking forward to meet you. Welcome to the UDOT team and happy to have you aboard.
Thank you.
Bart, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
That's Bart Mumford, Heber City Engineering, and glad to be here with you guys again.
Good to see you, Bart. Jan, do you want to introduce yourself from Hideout?
Jan McCosh, I'm the administrator for the town of Hideout.
Great. Next on my screen is Brooke. Brooke, do you want to introduce yourself with Xtel?
Sure, thank you. Brooke Hantz, Vice President of Development here in Park City with Xtel Development, like I said, and I also have Hannah Wilson on the screen. She is additionally with Xtel, it just doesn't say after her name. So
great, thank you. And again, I'll just, let's see, we have a Scott Larson on here as well. Scott, do you want to introduce?
This is Scott Larson. I'm on the Wallsburg Town Board.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for joining us, Scott.
Yeah.
And then also, it looks like we have Tim Harris that has joined from MAG staff. He's our travel demand modeler. And I already introduced Sarah Lawless. She's one of our GIS specialists. Shauna Meekum is one of our air quality specialists, bicycle pedestrian specialists. So kind of gives us a broad overview of who's on the call today. And as you guys see other people join, looks like Matt Parker joined. Matt, do you want to introduce yourself real quick since you're one of them? One of us?
Sure. I'm Matt Parker with UDOT, and I'm the project or the program manager. So I don't know if everybody's aware, but Jeremy Bown has taken a different position within UDOT, and Craig Hancock is going to take his place up here in Wasatch County. So I think I saw Craig was on here.
I was on here, Matt, and have introduced myself to the group.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, I missed it. I was a little bit late because I just came back from the dentist. So if I'm talking funny, that's why.
Sounds good. Okay.
I'm sorry, Sean, I had to drop off for a second. I know you were after me, but I apologize.
Oh, thank you, Mike. I introduced you to the group, so
well,
if you want to say anything.
Made me sound better than I actually am, so thank you.
I built you up pretty good.
Excellent.
Okay, so Eric and UDOT crew, Craig, I think, Matt, we're going to wait and see if Doug joins for that access management agreement discussion. I'm going to move to that next item, which is the Wasatch Back for 2050 map, if that's all right with everyone.
That would be good. Doug just called me and he did not have the link, so I just sent him the link and he's going to remote in and walk through that.
Perfect.
But let's go ahead and go with the other agenda item.
Great. Okay, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to share my screen and show you what we did a couple years ago. We had our GIS guys all work together, and we created what we called the Wasatch Back choice for 2040. So the Wasatch Back choice for 2040. The idea with this is that this is the vision of Morgan County, Summit County, and Wasatch County all sewn together. And what I mean by a vision, it's basically the land use that the local governments have adopted in each one of those jurisdictions. Put generalized, so we generalize the land use. For example, you might have, in Midway, you might have 3 different classifications of residential. Well, we just collapse that all down to residential, and we call it, and we give it the yellow color, and so on. And so we felt like this was a helpful exercise because oftentimes I think we get criticized in the public realm that there's not a lot of planning going on, or that no one knows what's going on, or no one knows what kind of entitlements have taken place out there, or no one knows what kind of population projections exist out there. And so this is an effort to try to, one, create a graphic representation of the work that we all are doing at any given point in time, and then be able to communicate that visually to the public, as well as I've got a copy hanging in my office and I reference it every now and then, and it reminds me of, you know, what kind of densities or what areas have different land uses planned. So this is from our 2040 plan horizon for the state of Utah. We had a 2040 unified transportation plan about 4 years ago. We just adopted a 2050 unified transportation plan. We predict households and jobs all the way through the year 2050, and working with the planners and engineers in the local governments. And so what I'm proposing is we take and update this 2040 map to the 2050 map. And we've got a nice little tool to do that with this year that we haven't had in previous years. And
John, what's the Greenway? What is that?
those, I believe, were trail connections that we had anticipated or connections, that we wanted to make from one community to another community. They were kind of conceptual, as you can tell.
But they're trails, huh?
Yeah, down in Utah County, look at the green sweeping motion up Provo Canyon. Kind of follows that trail corridor, but we didn't know exactly where that would go. So I believe that they were trail connections, Greenway connections, to get us from one community to the next. And we can define these a little bit better this time. Any other thoughts or questions about that Wasatch back choice for 2040 map? I'm going to flip over to our tool and show you how we think we're going to try to update the 2050 map.
Sean, before we leave that, those greenways, I'm assuming those are more urban connections? Asphalt?
Yeah, Doug, I forget how we, exactly what we intended to do with those, except that just show that we had we were planning on some type of connection that would take place from one community to the other, to another community. But we didn't have as much of it planned as we do now. So now we can be more definitive. If you look at the Greenway connection on the Park City Rail Trail, it follows that old rail trail precisely. So I think we can do a much better job in Wasatch County this round. Okay, I'm going to try to go to the other tool that I'm using, which is.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Hold on a second. Is that Kendall?
Yeah, I just got a doctor's appointment. I'm logged in on my phone.
Oh, great, Kendall. Thanks for joining us. Okay, I'm going to try to do this one more time.
Where you at on the agenda? Item 2 or 1, Snell?
Well, I'm kind of being stupid right now, and I'm trying to share my screen with the group on item number 2, Kendall.
Okay.
So let me see if I can do that again. Okay. So Sarah Lawless on the Zoom with us today created this map for us. And maybe what I can do is if you click on that link that's that Melanie has sent, or that's in the notes of your appointment, you'll see that it comes to this screen. And what this is it's basically a map with different layers that we're familiar with. Let's see if I can get that. Oh, here we go. So I could do the different land use layers. I could turn stuff on and off, just like any GIS map that we all know how to use. And the one thing that's different about this one is you can actually edit it. So if for some reason Sarah got something wrong, or Mag got something wrong when we were interpreting your land use, what we're going to ask is that you guys go in and edit it for us, or make some notes for us on how to do this, or what should be changed. And then Sarah will go back in and make that edit permanent and use your notes to keep track of that. So there's a couple features to this thing that I think are kind of interesting. And I'm going to show you the Okay. I'm going to show you the households. So if I turn on how many households do we account for right now? This is in Heber near the hub. I can see that this TAS zone right here, if you can see my cursor spinning, can you guys see that? Okay. So that TAS zone, we say right now there's about 27 households in that TAS zone.
What kind of radius around the hub is that TAS zone reflecting?
It's the TAS zone is the red line itself. So can you see the red line outlining that? Let me see if I can turn that red line on and off. Okay, it's not very bright, but so that entire block right there is one TAS zone. If we looked at the block right here with 4.8, that's another TAS zone, traffic analysis zone. It's like a census block. So what I can do is I can look at that and I can say in the year 2020, we said that in this block, there were 4.8 households approximately. And in this one, there was 27. Well, in the year 2050, we plan that there will be the same number of households in that TAS zone, just left of the hub. And above the hub, there's 57 households in that TAS zone. The TAS zone to the right of that, there's 1,800 households. And we can do the same thing with jobs. So you can look at
that's reflecting the new development that's being approved by Heber out in southeast Heber along Highway 40 probably.
Yeah, what we do is, and I'll just give everyone a reminder after I show you one more feature of this, but you can just click these on and off and it can show you how many jobs and households we're planning for, you're planning for traffic purposes, utility purposes. Heber Light and Power uses this data. This data comes from the Gardner Policy Institute. Natalie Gochner and Pam Perlick, they give us a county control total, and then we come to you guys once every 4 years and we have you tell us where to put those jobs and households based on the growth trends that your planners and engineers are seeing. So it's just a quick reminder. Go ahead.
Sean, down where Walmart is there at the hub.
Yeah.
There aren't any residences in that little thing you've got there.
Yeah, and there may be errors, 1 or 2 errors, margin of error plus or minus 5, something like that, where we could have some errors.
It's people that are working in all those stores.
Well, if they're living in the parking lot at Walmart, I guess that's the case, but there's no homes there.
There's trailers there a lot at night.
Remember, Mike, you were having those hippies come up and camp in the woods, and then they'd live at Walmart for a couple of days. Maybe that's some of that.
But even the one where it says Wasatch High School, there's not 27 homes there. I mean,
Got it.
A couple, but
They may live there, but they don't shower there.
yeah.
Good point, Mike. And if we see things like that are concerning, then we'd love for you to for the planners and engineers to make a note on it, and we will adjust it accordingly.
Well, I guess my point is we probably ought to look at it just to make sure. I've found in the past that using the assumptions that come through the state and other things they're incredibly inaccurate for us. So
yeah, they really can be. And if I was to look at this TAS zone, maybe there's a
couple homes right there.
Yeah.
And everything else, that's the farm.
Yeah.
And the rest of it's the school and commercial.
Yep, and maybe we had some old residences in that location. So I see what you're saying. Turn on and off different layers to help you visualize that stuff.
And 2020 is a forecast from a base year from a few years ago. So, I mean, it will be incorrect, but it shouldn't be too far off, being only a couple of years in. But we'll be redoing these in the next year or two anyway.
Well, where I got concerned, it wasn't with this particularly, but was on the population numbers for the county, they were using formulas which didn't apply very well to a county with over 40% second homes. And
Yeah, that's a good comment.
I don't want to get caught up in this data war over projection stuff that has no factual basis.
We're working very closely with them, and we have some they have some known errors and issues, and we have concerns. And so I would definitely ask you guys to either contact them directly or let us know of your concerns too, because we're working very closely with them, with all the counties up here in the northern part of Utah. So we want to make sure that we're getting them all right. They want to make sure they're getting them all right as well. So
gotcha.
It looks like the sewer farm has homes too, and that's not really the case.
Yep.
Looks like there's 4 households there or something, just barely within it. So I see what you guys are saying.
But there's some on the other side of Southfield Road. If you go further to the west,
Oh yeah.
there's only a couple there.
Yep, for sure. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay, so I'm going to back out again.
John, this is Bart. Let me ask you
Yeah.
a question. How does it,
Yeah, Bart.
this is the residential, how does it deal with the commercial traffic?
Tim, do you want to address that? Probably with the jobs, I bet.
yeah, so when we do our forecasts, we look at the land use. So anything zoned for residential will get residential capacity and uses. Commercial is the same way. And when traffic comes on, when we use our traffic models, the homes are the producers of the trips and the jobs are more or less the attractors. And so it's quite a complex thing, but in the end, it links the two together and comes up with a forecast that we validate with current counts and things. And so does that answer your question? I wasn't sure if it was clear.
Yeah, basically it has another method to take into account and then you aggregate it all. So
Yeah, I mean, the model, the land use model in this area is pretty simple. It's a spreadsheet that allows growth, but it's constrained at a capacity based on the general plans of the areas of the different cities. And so in the end, it shouldn't go above a capacity that's given unless it's already there in the base data. And so we will be coming around after we do the initial spreadsheet calculations to make sure that we don't have anything crazy.
okay, thanks.
Right now I'm displaying the jobs by TAS zone, by traffic analysis zone. So jobs are the other component to households, and that's how the trip generation calculation takes place, is where do people live, where do they work, and then what are the attractions in between. I'm going to go to the introductory slide and just play this quick video that Sarah put together just to kind of show the group how this editing tool is going to work, if this works right. Can you guys see this okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let me move myself. Thanks for saying that. Hey.
Okay, so that was just a quick example of us trying to deal with the pandemic and not being able to get together in person right now. But as soon as we all get vaccinated, we're going to be able to sit around a table like we did in the old days and have you guys mark stuff up on a map, which I completely intend to do. But if there's a beginning point in editing some of the work that Sarah's already done, we could use this editing tool to do that. And you guys could start to give your feedback on any of the changes that you're seeing are inconsistent with your town's current general plan. If we have something completely wrong, like this doesn't make sense to you on your land use stuff, just send Sarah the new layer. You know, if you've just gone through a general plan amendment or something that we just missed, just get a hold of Sarah Lawless, and I think you got her email address through that video. It's on that link as well. Or give me a call and I'll give it to you, okay? And so again, what we're going to try to do is produce a Wasatch Choice for 2050 map that shows the generalized land use of all Summit, Wasatch, and Morgan counties. Sew that together so people can see what the bigger picture plan is. And then I know that Doug is starting to operate some regional planning meetings. And you could use that, Doug, as kind of a big picture thing to say what's approved, what's been zoned, and what's going to be planned in this particular area. And if you want, you can use that digital tool to actually zoom in TAS zone by TAS zone to see how many people live there now and how many people we plan to have there in the year 2050. Any other questions about this agenda item?
Sean, this is Matt. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Sean, we're seeing record growth in home occupations, sales tax for online sales. How would those be counted into job numbers that might show up on that map?
Great question, Matt. Tim, do you want to try to address that?
Yeah, typically there's, when we have a job data set, a job total, there is a percentage taken out for home-based jobs. Typically a thing, in forecasting, we would consider 2020 more of a blip in the overall scheme. So as we forecast 30 years out, we do account for some change, but yes, there is a percentage taken out for home-based jobs, and certain trips are generated or attracted based on that. Just not as much, nearly as much as a normal job. So there.
Yeah, Tim, I remember one time we had. We noticed in the middle of Orem, Rocky Mountain Helicopters out of a household had 60 employees. And so we went back in and hand edited that allocation out of that TAS zone so that was not an attractive location for jobs to go. So we'll notice things like those home-based businesses, especially if they register with the state, they've got a business license, we can locate those and see those anomalies.
John, the other anomaly is people actually working from home with the advent of remote meetings and so forth. Is that going to play into your numbers as well?
I really want Eric Rasband to get in on this question because he and I have been talking about it even today. You know, what do we assume in the future and what has happened in the past? And Eric, do you want to make any editorial comments about that topic in general?
I think that there's going to be an element of the workforce that's going to continue to work from home. Our data is showing that we're approaching traffic volumes back to almost 100% of normal conditions. The travel patterns during the day are different. it's spread out more broadly throughout the day. The peak periods aren't quite as sharp. We just don't know how much this is going to change when the COVID vaccination comes, and comes out and is broadly distributed. How will that impact the workforce? We don't know. But the governor has recently signed an executive order requiring all state entities evaluate positions to determine whether or not they can continue to work remotely or they need to work from the office or their typical work assignment. And part of that effort is to evaluate or provide opportunities for the rural part of the state, provide not only opportunities for people to maybe move to the rural areas or for people that are in the rural areas to compete for state agency positions. And so that's an ongoing effort. I think that deadline is by July 1. We'll see how that comes out and plays in. Certainly seeing the technology sectors in the state, they've transitioned almost exclusively to this remote teleworking. So long story short, a lot of unknowns, but generally speaking, we are seeing trends that are pushing people back to their workplace.
Thank you, Eric.
Sean, I was wondering if you click on the transportation icon, what does that tell you? Is it ADT or?
Let me see if I can look at that again. Or Sarah, if you know what the answer is to that, feel free to chime in too.
And is that based off your households? And how do you come up with that?
Let me see if I can get back there, Doug. Okay. Let's see here, guys, sorry. Okay. All right, Doug, so over here in the legend, is that what you're saying?
On the right-hand side, above sensitive areas.
Okay.
It went away. There was a transportation icon.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm not very good at manipulating this on the fly.
Well, the one right here, just.
Oh, transportation. Got it. Sarah, do you know what that category is underneath land use for above sensitive areas? It says transportation, below mountain.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. When we collected the land use layers, there would be areas like a transportation corridor on a highway or freeway or whatever. And that's really what that is. It's just whatever it was. If it was a transportation corridor, it was classified as transportation. So that doesn't mean that like all roads are classified as transportation, but if it was some kind of corridor in your land use plans, that's what it was generalized as.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, other questions about what we're going to do here in the next month or so on this particular item? Very good. Sarah, do you have any instructions for the cities, in terms of reviewing this data and getting back to you? I think it's pretty self-explanatory in your video. You're just going to be monitoring this, is that right?
Yeah. Any changes that you make, once again, just watch the video at the beginning before you start making edits, and any changes you make are automatically saved. And I can monitor them. Make sure in the notes section that you put in a decent note that lets me know who edited it, so I make sure it's official, and why you made the change. And also, so the households numbers are their household population. So Tim would have more information about how the household population. So it's not the number of houses on that TAS zone, but it's household population. I can go back and and change that so it's a little more self-explanatory for that. But
Perfect. Thank you. And then what we'll do is we'll assemble a first draft of the Wasatch Choice for 2050. And that first draft will then give you guys something to react to see if your changes were made correctly or if you didn't have time to get to them or whatever that might be. And I'll be doing this with Summit County and Morgan County as well. Okay, let's go back up to agenda item number 1. It looks like Doug, you were able to join us. Sorry about the problems with the link, and let you take a couple minutes and talk about the access management agreements that we've been working on over the years.
Okay, thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so just kind of a little background. For many years, Region 3 has developed corridor preservation cooperative agreements with local jurisdictions so that when development comes along, that the local jurisdiction and UDOT are on the same page when it comes to signalization of intersections and access management practices. And so we hadn't had one for SR 113 in the north-south portion of it or the east-west portion of it. And so part of my job is to develop those agreements. And so I put one together for the north-south section that goes from 189 up to where the bend is in the middle of Midway. And then one from that intersection in Midway over to US 40 in Heber. So 2 separate documents. Basically, the agreements indicate where existing proposed or warranted signal locations are based on, of course, existing would be what's there now. Warranted to be those that we have studied but haven't constructed yet. And then proposed to be ones where we foresee there could be a signal in the future in conjunction with the local jurisdiction's transportation master plan. Not all master plans are created equal, and some have shown on their proposed ones and others don't have proposed ones on their maps. So just make kind of a best educated projection at that point. And then the other section of it deals with access management so that we just category is and identify what the signal spacing and street spacing and access spacing based on that access management category. And then with the caveat that accesses and streets have been constructed in the past, probably different than those spacings that are outlined in our access management standards, and they're kind of grandfathered in because they were previously agreed to by the local jurisdiction and UDOT. But then going forward, we try to adhere to those standards as much as possible. There's a little wiggle room from time to time. If we see something that needs to be changed, we can address that. We've done amendments to agreements in the past when things change over time. And so as we've done this on many other roads, we just wanted to keep going and get them all done for those that are applicable in our region. And so SR 113 is one of those that hasn't had an agreement on it in the past. So I sent a draft version to Charleston, to Wasatch County, and to Midway City for the north-south portion of it, and to Midway and the county and Heber City for the east-west portion of it. And Midway City and Charleston have signed off on the north-south section, and Midway has for the east-west section. And then the county and Heber City have yet to sign. And I think maybe some of the questions or concerns or what is this agreement all about is the reason for the hesitation. And that's why we're talking to you about what it is. So that's kind of the background in a nutshell. And then so I would encourage the locals in this case that still need to sign, Wasatch County and Heber City, to review the documents and see if they match up with what you anticipate being there for where signals might be in the future and for access management items.
Thank you, Doug. We've developed these with the UDOT and the local governments over the years, and they've been fantastic to be able to get everyone on the same page. And so, Doug Smith, if that's something that you guys have questions on, or Matt Brower or Bart or whoever from Heber, if you guys have questions, will you let us know, and we could facilitate a discussion on just that, on one or both of those access management agreements with Doug Bassett, if you guys want, like we've done in the past.
Sean, this is Bart. I was hoping, at least with Wasatch County and Heber especially, on our section of it, we could have some time to just sit down and talk together like we've done in the past, because I'm not sure what all the county's thinking, and I know we've got some, potential for a high school there, a bypass along there, and I wanted to just have some verbal dialogue looking at a map with them.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it, Doug Bassett? We could get together and just talk about what's existing and what's been granted but not in existence, and then what's proposed in the future, and just kind of go through that milepost by milepost if you guys want.
That'd be fine.
Doug, do you know who those agreements were sent to? Was it sent to my office?
Not sure. In fact, now that I think about it, I suppose it's possible I haven't sent them to the county at all, but I thought I had. I'd have to, since I'm not in my office, I might have to look and see where it went to.
Okay, because it doesn't ring a bell with me seeing that.
Yeah. Yeah, it actually, yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe I haven't sent it. I think when Bart was indicating he had wanted to talk about it further, I probably put the brakes on it and may not have sent it to you guys at the county.
Okay.
Doug Smith, who should it go to for a review? Is that you, Doug?
Unless Mike Davis wants it.
I don't want it. You can have it.
I thought you might say that.
Feelings.
Okay, Doug Bassett, you're going to send it to Doug Smith when you guys are comfortable, and then we can make an arrangement to get together with Heber City and walk through some of their interest in and what you've outlined. And we could even do some maps if you want to, Doug Bassett. We've done those in the past as well, where we can visualize that a little bit better.
Okay.
Yes, I can. Sure.
Okay, I'll put that as a follow-up task for Bob Allen to work on, is get some meetings together on the access management agreements. Anything else on that?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay, Doug, thanks for that. And then the third item on the agenda is, we've already talked about it a little bit. Sounds like Craig's going to move up and take over some of Jeremy's projects up there in Wasatch County. And Craig or Jeremy, if you're on the line, do you want to talk a little bit about what that means, and then also the bypass itself, bypass study or the parkway study?
Yeah, this is Jeremy Baum. I'm on now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Jeremy.
Great. So, yeah, I was going to kind of introduce Craig real quickly. Craig, I don't know if you're on. Hopefully you are. But I've accepted a new position with the department, and I'm going to be taking over the region design team. And so Craig's going to be taking over project management responsibilities up in Wasatch County. And so, Craig, if you wanted to say anything now, go right ahead, and then after that I'll go ahead and give a little bit of a UDOT update.
Thanks, Jeremy. I actually had an opportunity at the beginning of the meeting to introduce myself, so
great. Well, then I'll just go ahead and go into the update. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as projects right now and that will be impacting Wasatch County and up in that area, we have coming out for construction here soon. We're going to be doing a barrier project in Provo Canyon. We're just trying to wrap up design on that project right now, and with that project, we'll also be doing a pavement project, preservation project on the asphalt section from the SR 92 turnoff up to the first Deer Creek State Park park entrance there, just as you get to the reservoir. So that'll be a chip seal that we do through that section, and then we'll be replacing median cable barrier and median guardrail with cast-in-place concrete barrier through most of the canyon. We'll be funding-wise, we can't do everything, so we've been prioritizing some of those barriers based on number of hits and exposure to the maintenance guys when they're doing those repairs and stuff. So, and then also added to that project, we'll be doing the rumble strip project that I think's been talked about in the past on US 40 north of Heber. We'll be installing sinusoidal rumble strips in the median, just right there on the yellow line. And the thing about the sinusoidal rumble strips are for the residents nearby and people standing outside. It's significantly less noticeable when a car runs over those rumble strips, but to the driver and those inside the car, it still is very effective at grabbing their attention. So we'll be using those rumble strips there to help prevent crossover and head-on crashes through that section of US 40, and still try to not make a nuisance for those that live up in that area. And then Craig will be getting ready to start that widening project here pretty soon for US 189. I think he gets funding this July, so he'll be able to get going on that last section of 189 that needs to be widened around Deer Creek Reservoir. So that'll be nice to finally get that piece done. And then let's see, we have just by way of information, you guys probably are aware, we had that widening project on 113 this year, and by widening I mean making it so there's actually real shoulders on SR 113. The travel lanes are still about the same, but we have some shoulders now, which should make that road a little safer. We are basically all wrapped up with that project, but you'll notice us come back out in the spring. There was some issues with the barrier, and so some of that barrier will get removed and replaced. And there's a couple spots in the pavement where there's a little bump. I think it's right there at Tate Lane, if I remember correctly, that we'll be having to address. So we have a little bit of cleanup, fix it work in the spring, but other than that, that project's all wrapped up. And then another project we're in design on right now, but it probably won't go into construction until either fall or next year, is replacing the bridge decks on US 40 over the Provo River. Most of that work, like I mentioned, will be next year, but there may be the potential for the contractor to start this fall building the crossovers for that project. And then just an update on those bridges up there by the Mayflower interchange. We're about halfway done with that project. We have the uphill direction, whether you want to call that northbound or westbound, US 40. We have the bridges that go underneath that side completed. We have traffic running on them now, and then in the spring we'll cross traffic over and put all traffic over on those new bridges and start excavation and build those structures on the southbound / eastbound side of US 40. And then we should have that project wrapped up, late summer, early fall, and have it open and ready for whenever those projects are ready to start building the roadways underneath. So, and then lastly, a project that I'm sure no one's been paying attention to or thinking about is the Heber EIS that we're working on, the Heber Valley EIS that we've been working on. So we had been planning some local government updates and things of that nature, a stakeholder working group. And as we were going through the transition from myself to Craig, we found some things that we might want to revisit on that project. And so we've kind of held back a little bit. We're going over some things, Craig and I together with the project team. And so we'll be reaching out here shortly to schedule those updates with in the local meeting or Wasatch County Council or Heber City Council, and also scheduling our stakeholder working group that we said we'd schedule once we're ready to publish the or post, I should say, the purpose and need to the public for public comment. So I told you guys, most of you all in the past, that we're trying to have that ready to go by the end of January and post our notice of intent and post that for public comment, but it's looking like it'll probably be February timeframe when we actually get that out. So that's generally the update from UDOT. Any questions?
Great update, Jeremy. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any questions for UDOT? All right, open it up for any other items that be good for the group today to hear from. Happy to have any questions, so open it up.
John, this is Matt. I got a question going back to the Heber Valley EIS.
Yeah, go for it, Matt.
Heber's perspective is obviously we want to make sure the EIS process remains completely credible and that we don't do anything that might undermine that credibility. In speaking with Representative Mike Calder recently, he's very intentful on trying to get funding for the construction of the bypass as soon as it's reasonably possible. I know Mayor Potter shared with me some concerns expressed to her from the EIS team that we may not want to do that too aggressively for the fear of the appearance that trying to get money from UDOT on this project could ruin its credibility. What Heber City doesn't want to do is wait a dozen years or a half dozen years once the EIS is finished and to get the funding and get the construction done. How might we move forward, protecting the process, protecting the appearance of a credible EIS process, while at the same time trying to advance agenda to get the funding for the construction as soon as possible?
Yeah, Matt, I'll just begin by saying that, Representative Kohler was one of the original founders of the concept of the Parkway. So he has a lot of passion and interest in the Parkway project. And I believe he brings that to the project in a positive way. And I know that UDOT Region 3 has reached out to Representative Kohler. In fact, we had a couple pieces of communication going on today to bring him up to speed as to where we're at. And we do not want to prejudice the EIS at all. And Representative Kohler knows that, and we've had those conversations. So we'll continue to reach out to Mike and make sure he knows that we're all in this project together and we're going to deliver a solid decision at the end. And Jeremy, Jeremy or Craig, do you want to say anything in addition to that?
I think that was spot on, Sean. So no, I think that's good. Unless Craig has something he wants to add.
No, I'm just barely getting up to speed on this project, but no, certainly echo the sentiment that we want to have a transparent project and you make sure that we follow the process.
Great. Thank you, Matt, for the question. Anything else for the group? All right, I'm all zoomed out today, so I'm going to call it a day at this point and appreciate everyone joining us. We're going to schedule another one of these for about 2 months out. And if Mag can do anything for you guys, please reach out to us. Doug Bassett will set up a meeting with Heber City and Wasatch County for the access management agreement, east-west leg of 113. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
Good night, Sean.
Thanks.
See you guys.
Good night.